Welcome to the Energy Innovation Days, also from my side, and welcome to the jungle. For a moment, I would like you to lean back and imagine a jungle. Now think about an elephant that walks through a jungle. You might see an elephant is really big and clunky, huge animal that doesn't look too elegant. So I would like you to change your perspective and imagine some music you like. Imagine a march, something like Billie Eilish, for example, and look at the elephant again. This elephant will look pretty elegant. And with a little bit fantasy, you can also see the elephant dancing. This comparison, from my perspective, fits very well to innovation and corporates. A lot of people say corporates cannot really innovate. It doesn't come natural to them. I am deeply convinced that corporates can be innovative if you find the right measures, if you find the right music that they play to the innovation dance. My name is Marc Ritzmann. I'm Managing Director of E.ON Group Innovation GmbH. And today, the host, I'm welcoming my guests a lot, and I'm really looking forward to a discussion about how corporates can innovate. Let me introduce our guests. I would like to start with Marc. Marc Thom, welcome. Marc is a venture capital senior investment manager, heading up strategic alliances and partnership at the Sony Innovation Fund. You're working already for Sony for more than 10 years. I had the pleasure to listen to a couple of your speeches, and I'm really looking forward to discussing today with you. Thanks that you are here. My next guest is Erik Wirsing. Erik already works for more than 20 years for DB Schenker, a leading logistics company in several positions. Since 2016, he's in charge of global innovation. Erik's focus areas are innovation trends, research and development, startup partnerships, and the DB Schenker lab. I had the pleasure to have a couple of discussions with him about innovations we could do together, and you can really look forward to listen to Erik. Thanks that you're here, Erik. Last but not least, I would like to introduce Susanne Mueller Zantop. Susanne founded her company in 2006 that supports executives in their digital appearance. Her corporate career led her through senior management positions at IBM, Gartner, Siemens, and Adecco in analyst, investor relations, and management positions. Actually, we know each other already for 20 years. She was my first boss, and I'm really looking forward to discussing today with you, Susanne. Welcome. Okay, let's get started. Before we start, to the audience, if you have any questions, please post them. We will try to pick them up while we discuss or at the end of the sessions. My first question goes to Marc. Marc, Sony recently popped up at the worldwide global corporate venturing power list at place number 7, which is pretty impressive. What is Sony doing differently compared to other companies? What is your recipe to drive innovation at Sony?
Hi. I still get goosebumps if I'm thinking about that we really made it to the 7th place. I think it's showing the acknowledgement of the hard work which has been done by the entire team, by everybody, because it was really difficult to dive deep in every topic to understand so much. Sony is a very diversified company, probably the most diversified company you can find in the world, with so many different business units. We have the core DNA is tech and entertainment, so we have Sony Pictures and Sony Music. We are having semiconductor business with the optical sensors. So many different businesses, and all of them are in daily challenges to find new business models out there because the world is turning and it's changing. So it's always important to understand where is this world going to, what are the things which are changing, and also frequently exchange with the business units. I can't really talk about what other companies are doing, but I can only tell to you that one of the big advantages is that the core DNA is tech, and that we have a very strong team which is really looking inside of all of these businesses. And innovation is much more than just going out and scout some of the drones or something like this. It is more also to transform the business model itself, because that's the real change. Innovation leads not only to, oh, that's fancy, that's cool, there's blockchain. It's really important to understand what does it mean for my existing business, for the business in the future, but also what are the chances and what are the challenges for us, what we need to do. So it's all about business transformation.
Thanks for your introduction. business information, business transformation is a really important area. Erik, in the preparation for the session that we had, we also discussed the fact that DB Schenker acquired Velocopter or stakes in Velocopter some time ago. Is this such a business transformation that Marc is talking about? And what do you believe is the secret recipe to drive innovation in DB Schenker?
I think there's not only one idea, it's not only black and white, sometimes a little bit of gray, but the most important thing what I always telling the people is it's about the people, because they're bringing the right people together, giving them more or less the freedom to work on their own ideas, really develop things together, and don't control them too much with governance and with structures and with policies, because that is something that we can do quite good as a big corporate. But when it comes really to innovation, to explore new things, working on trends and create new opportunities, it's all about giving them the possibility to do that and to shine. So really giving them the freedom to do that. And our investment in Velocopter, that was quite an impressive step into the future, we would say, because we really see our supply chains under big pressure. And when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to last mile delivery, when it comes to urban delivery concepts, they were really struggling, because some companies working now on cargo bikes, working on electromobility, hydrogen. But I think we need a mixture, and something like Velocopter with the topic of heavy lifted cargo drone could be something for the second last mile, so bringing cargo really into the urban environment, and it's CO2 neutral, and that is something what we're really aiming for, because autonomous flying, because we also have a truck driver shortage, so therefore it was a perfect match. When we found that company, it's also coming from Germany, but we really want to scale it and also globally, because we believe we have to think differently in the future with different supply chain concepts. And here with the sustainability approach, autonomous approach, that could be an interesting match in the next years to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I also believe that diversity is really important, not only in technology, but also, as you mentioned, in the people, because they are finally the ones that drive innovation. Susanne, you have worked with several CEOs throughout your career, first as an analyst, then as an innovation relations officer. After that, you ran a corporate startup where you reported into a CEO and CFO, which at some point in time failed and was closed. What did you learn from it?
First, thanks for being here. It's just great, and I really like how E.ON is doing innovation. I think that's a very innovative and very impressive approach. Thanks. And what I learned is I never met a CEO or CFO who said they're not interested in innovation. So it's always at the top where the interest is or should be. And it seems to me that in the energy business, this is particularly challenging, because you have quite a traditional workforce which is probably as old as I am, and then you have those young and crazy guys, the traders, the engineers, the technicians, etc., like you guys, and you have this in between, and this is something where probably the CEO and CFO should put their marks to, right? Because these two need to be combined to create innovation. You have wind turbines, you have new battery solutions, but then you also have the business model innovation, like you said, Erik. And I think it needs different types of people. And what I saw and what my big lesson learned is, if you have this thing like us versus them, it's going to fail. It's just not working.
Okay, so we need the CEO to support us. I couldn't agree more. And we also need the people that drive it. Marc, you heard Susanne and Erik, they put a lot of emphasis on people. What role do they play in your view? What kind of profiles are you looking for? There might be someone listening to us today.
No, but it's a really relevant point, because it's not done by just hiring a banker. okay? You need much more skills than just the banking skills to make a discounted cash flow or something like this. You need social skills to exchange with other corporates, with the other VCs to find consensus on what you want to do. You also need to have the willingness to dive really deep on the bottom of a topic. So please imagine understanding blockchain technologies is not the easiest thing in the world. So you need to compare the different polygons, the Starkwares and so on in this world, and to find out what is layer 1, layer 2, what's the future about Ethereum flow and blah. If you really want to do this, and you need to have, let's say, a certain point that you need to be willing to dive to the bottom really deep as you can to understand. And also you need to have the ability to create your own reports to understand an industry. And you need to have the insights from the corporates. What are these guys demanding for the future? What are their challenges? The same like what is the technology doing? What are the trends doing? So basically it's quite simple. It's what the startups are doing. They are pairing a trend for the future, let's say demographic change, and then they pair this with the challenges of the industry. And then they combine this with the available technology today and create a new business model. That's not really rocket science, but they do it. And this is really good. So you need people to execute. So execution is key, and you need to have people who understand exactly why they want to do exactly what, focused on a special point. That's basically some of the personality skills what people need, but all about execution skills and personality, also including the social skills, which are very important.
Yeah, I can imagine. Innovation is also very often about pushing things into the country, into the company, also getting over hurdles, accepting that sometimes you get a pushback or two until you reach the goal. So yeah, I fully agree. Innovation is also a lot about coincidence. If we're looking in the industry history, there are tons of examples where innovations were a coincidence, like a Post-it that was, I think, a glue that didn't work really well, or even accidents. So very often people didn't expect things to scale. And if you look at the key parts of innovation, it's innovations usually deliver late returns, unsecure returns. Very often you have sunk costs, something doesn't work out, and you expect a lot of trust and patience from your stakeholders. All of those things really not fit with corporates. Like, what do you do to increase the trust? What is your recipe that your company follows your ideas? Who wants to? Erik?
I think there are plenty of possibilities. I think also to underline what Marc already said, so the diversity of people is one of the great success factors. I would say we are now getting next year as a company 150 years, and for the last 125 years we hired more or less all the professional people from logistics, but now we really start to rethink, is that everything? And since the last 15-20 years we really hire as diverse as possible. Even my innovation department, I always hire only people that are not already there. So because if the skills already existing, why should I hire that person? Because I need something different to bring some new influences into the organization. Of course, you need always people who understand your business and the industry, because that's more or less the fundament, but then also having really crazy guys with crazy ideas to really bring it even further. And when it comes to coincidence, I think that's then also the topic that I would say the most important attitude that people should really have is honest curiosity. They should be really curious, what can we do with such a topic, with such a technology in our business context, and to really go out and ask people, interview people, and having really this possibility to speak to people. And that is something what we always see. And then if there is something, when people get this kind of, let's say, curiosity and seeing something, why do we don't use that kind of technology also in that topic? Always with the mindset, jobs to be done. What is the job to be done? Because to move a pallet from A to B, there are several ways how to do that. And then really combining and finding this kind of opportunity in ways, and that people are not shooting on you when something is really failing. That is a big topic.
Yeah, Erik, the story reminds me of how the first Audi Quattro has been born, because that was exactly what you said. It was a coincidence. They were testing in Iceland and on snow, but the Audi limousines. And then there was a military Iltis SUV accompanying it, and everyone everyone saw the four-wheel drive was so much better. And then a couple of engineers went to the sidelines and they did this undercover development of the first Ur-Quattro. And then only when it was really cool and driving, they did some games and competitions with it. And this is what they presented to Dr. Piech at that point in time. And this is what caught the imagination of everyone. And just know how mission critical the Quattro is to Audi.
Absolutely, and maybe another short example of what also happens in our industry, because I was giving a short presentation somewhere on the conference, and then somebody came after that to me and said, I didn't know that Schenker is also acting that diverse and with this, let's say, different opportunities. By the way, I'm already your customer, but we are coming from the roof industry, so we have developed a crazy paint that you can paint on your roof, and then it's getting stone hard, like a sandpaper topic. You can't destroy it on the roof any longer. I said, maybe you have another idea, what else can we do with this crazy paint? I said, I have an idea. And now we brought it to our sport bodies, to our trailers and containers, because there we're using rubber mats on the ground that the pallet is not moving when you're transporting. Now we paint that color, don't need this rubber mats any longer, and it's the most secure thing now to transport things from A to B. So coming per coincidence, there was a person seeing me talking to each other via coffee, and then topics are becoming, it's all about finding the right people, talking to them, exploring things, and really think about out of the box, what else can we do?
What I would be interested in, and probably, Marc, you can refer a bit to it. Now you have those great guys, you have those coincidences, and you as an innovation manager probably understand it. But how do you make your company understand? Because you need to convince them that they follow you, that they probably also follow ideas they don't understand themselves. What is it we can do about that?
Yeah, so I think I agree to all what you said. Probably the only thing I would like to add is that you also need the right timing, because in some points the coincidence is showing a great fit for technology to some kind of a challenge, but the challenge is probably coming in 5 years. So remember what it means, and knowing the challenge of the different industries makes it easier to transfer. But at the end, it's all about data-driven approaches. It's not like, hey, that's a fancy idea, what I could do. You can everything underline with some business data. Like, this is the challenge, you can show this, these are the technologies, these are the trends in the world going to, this means this in data, these are the costs evolving, and this is the reasons why, and this is the best timing to start with this product, XYZ, and then to build an argumentation. And if you have the management buy-in from a CFO or a CEO, they easily understand it's their business, daily business, and if you start data-driven instead of being completely abstract, it's a completely different approach, and I think that's probably the way to communicate. So, but it's very important to have the right timing. Yeah.
Absolutely. From my own career, I can only agree to what you said. One of my biggest failures in my career was because of the wrong timing. Another topic I would like to discuss with you is the topic of sustainability, which I think I'm not overdoing it if I say it's the challenge of mankind that we currently have. We all need to contribute and need to figure out ways how we can be more sustainable. At E.ON, sustainability is a key driver. If you look at our networks, they will be the backbone of the energy transition. However, they are planned for several centuries. And if you just look back 10 or 15 or 20 years, we had a couple of power plants that produced energy for millions of people. What we see today, and what we will see even more in the future, are millions of power plants that produce energy for millions of people, millions of EVs, millions of heat pumps. Now, of course, we are enforcing the network more and more to meet the needs, but we also need to get creative. We need innovation. And if we successfully deliver something innovative, we also help this world to be more sustainable, which is my key driver why I joined E.ON. What role does innovation, what role does sustainability play in your companies? What does it play in your innovation strategies?
Yeah, so I think ESG is a very important thing for the people who doesn't know what ESG, but it's environmental, it's sustainability and governance. It's playing a huge role in most of the companies as of today. I think it's daily with us, and our CEO is leading this in a really amazing way. So for us, we analyze this also, and we are investing in these kind of technologies also to understand also more about this, and to help these companies to scale. But on the other side, and I think this is also what we need to acknowledge, is that every company can add some value to these kind of sustainability growth. Some are limited, some can make a bigger impact. For us, for example, it is like that we can really try to produce and manufacture all the devices in a very sustainable way. This is something we can try to do, and I think we are pretty good in this. But at the end, the power consumption, what our devices need at the consumer, is something we can't really influence. So what we can try is to develop and to find out new technologies that the devices are running without that much power. So I think it's not good for you guys because you sell the power, but at the end, you can break it down to this on our side.
Yeah, maybe just to emphasize a little bit more on that, because it's about technology, it's about data, but it's also about education of people. Because when you think about, we are 76,000 people in 130 countries, and everybody can have his own stack to really help and to really be better and to really provide, let's say, different opportunities and really work on the topic of sustainability. Because it's not all about electric fleet or about hydrogen, it's about solar, it's about zero waste, it's about circular economy. That all is referring more or less to sustainability approach. And we as a logistics company, of course, with air freight, with ocean freight and land transport, there are a lot of CO2 consumptions coming because of us. So we really have to think how to make that world a little bit better. And of course, we would like and love to use even more electric vehicles or hydrogen or whatever. At the moment, they're not there. So that's a big challenge. And I don't know if you know the situation all over Europe. We have around 20, 25 cities who will close their doors completely for diesel trucks. So we really have to think about how to bring the shipments into the urban environment. Now, many logistic companies are jumping on cargo bikes. So these really heavy lifted bikes. So we are transporting now around 500 kilogram on a bike. That's a big step, but you can't drive with one bike whole Paris or whole Berlin. That's still not possible. So therefore you need now mini hubs. So a lot of new constructions, but even when you would have the right electric vehicles in place, there are not enough available at the moment, by the way. So then the power consumptions and the power supply, that's the next challenge, because we would need thousands of these trucks all over Europe, but the network at the moment is still on the way to do that. And some of the local infrastructure provider or power suppliers are not really able to fulfill the demands that are all coming from these trucks, because we have electric forklifts, we have then electric trucks. They are all more or less on the same power line. Then it's maybe getting dark in the city next to us. So we really have to think about alternatives and really stress that much more about, again, technology is one part, but this other part is then also the topic of solar panels, but also then the education for the people. And therefore, it's a whole company approach.
I think that's very understandable, and there's a very good example that explains exactly what it means to transform a business like that. When the first movies were shot and you watch them from 19th century, what you see is basically a theater play, and they film it, because they couldn't imagine what opportunities they have, how they can change the whole business model of a theater play, that they can do scenes outside, that they can cut movies. And that's exactly what's happening to our industries, right? We need to completely rethink it and not just replace combustion engines through electric vehicle, but also completely rethink the business model. Susanne, you worked a lot with CEOs and CFOs. What is your impression? What drives them when it comes to sustainability?
Well, looking at it from a financial point of view, and you mentioned the data, the numbers. E.ON, for example, you have 28 billion market cap, and you have lots of institutional investors. That translates into that institutional investors more and more really want companies like you to invest in ESG. Yeah, so there is a demand not only from the consumer side or from the tech community, but there is lots of demand from the investor side. And that in combination, of course, creates positive pressure. And I really like that, because we do have the money. The money is there. Yeah, think of Elon Musk's Carbon X Prize. He gave 100 million to find the best carbon solution to remove CO2 from the air. And I think that's amazing. I love that example, because he's so smart. I mean, he gets the best solutions in the world presented on the table. He doesn't need to do anything, just promise something, right? And then, yeah, it saves a lot of time, saves a lot of R&D, and can pick and choose.
Mm. We're getting just in a question that I would like to ask my guests. Should innovation be managed centrally, or is it something that should happen everywhere in a company? I think this discussion is as old as corporates are, but I'm curious to get your views. Who want to share an answer?
I have a clear view on that. So I would say it should happen really, really everywhere, but to make it transparent, what is happening everywhere, that everybody has the possibility to pick it up and to transform it into his country, into his branch, into his legal entity, whatever it is. But I'm always telling the people, even in my department, we are doing a fantastic, great job as an innovation department when the whole company is ticking like we are doing, because then we can close our department, because then the whole company is working like we do. And that must be the target. But again, it's not about reinventing the wheel. It should really happen everywhere. And how you call it, an idea or innovation, we don't care. Just something to bring the company and our customers further. But then finding a way to make it transparent what is there. That is the crucial aspect.
Mm. Any other view?
Just for the fun of it, I would like to contradict, because I think you cannot do too many things at the same time and be really successful in transformation. Transformation is painful, it hurts, and it creates a lot of angst, German angst, yeah? And this is something that is so difficult to deal with, because if any important solution is being brought to customers for the first time and then something goes wrong, there's many people really nervous to lose those important customers. And things like that, you have to really kind of choose your battles.
I agree, but I would also challenge that. I think when you're telling the customer directly, now we're coming here with an innovative approach, we want to test something and explore something together, they directly know, okay, that's nothing for scaling, that's something for testing, it's something also in the first step might be a little bit marketing behind, but also educating of people, then they're willing to do that. But you have to, this, let's say, expectation management in the beginning is quite important. And then it could be really happen.
And probably this is also needed. I don't have a clear answer to this, to be honest. But I think when we right now look into what's happening on the world, we have the COVID-19 pandemic, so things have changed significantly. We have issues with the value chain, with the supply chain, for example. Like, I don't know, you guys are the experts. Something's happening to all of my orders in the US, but not arriving. But what we see right now, probably also this will lead to something very important. This will lead to that companies will start to consider having the manufacturing line in front of the headquarters. So that was one reason, because companies started to produce and manufacture in Asia, for example, in China. It was the costs, yeah? But if the costs are not like the same with all the pain you now need to carry, sometimes, and I think it will happen, we will see this in the next year, if I'm not wrong, and we will see this in several cases, the manufacturing lines coming back, especially if you're able to automate the full factory. And this is something, if then the layer of the headcount cost is not anymore there. So if you fully automate the factory, why should it not be in Luxembourg, in Netherlands, or in Germany again? So bringing this back to the headquarters is something what I think we should really think about. This is one thing. You need all the people in the company to think this, to plan this, and to make this possible. But I think also really that it depends on the company itself and on the structure and the industry, if you really need everybody to be involved in this innovation path, or if you can really delegate it to some of the areas. But I think there's no clear yes or no, but this would be my 2 cents on this. And I think basically it's a good news for all the people in Germany right now. This fully automation of factories, something the Germans have invented, basically, with Bosch and Siemens and all the great companies. So there's hope, even for us.
Mm-hmm. You touched a topic I would like to dive a bit deeper, and that is the pandemic. Today we're sitting here in-person discussion and having discussions, and we're also seeing more and more people going back to the offices. So we're going step by step back to normal. When the pandemic started, lots of people were panicking, what will happen to my company and my life? And also, I personally was not sure, will we manage to deliver our innovations to the market without meeting our key stakeholders? Now that the pandemic goes to an end, hopefully, we need to make sure that we also take the good things with us. I personally believe it also had a lot of good things, like the most grumpy non-digital guy now uses Teams. We developed a lot of tools in Lightspeed. People are really using it, so it also has a lot of positive impact. And I would also like to have a positive discussion here. What do you think? Where did the pandemic help innovation? Where did it drive it forward?
I have a clear view on this. So if you put all the industries you can imagine on a piece of paper, and then you group them by what is short-term influenced by the pandemic or long-term influenced, and what is structural positive and what is structural negative, you will see that, for example, health, like e-health telemedicine, has boosted a lot like we had never this would never happen. You know, we're Germans. This happens usually 20 years. It takes time to telemedicine. It happened 6 months, so this was the good thing. But on the same side, some of the industries are really moved back and strike back. But some of them will recover, some of them probably never. And you mentioned something very important, that it's going back to normal. I really hope that we don't go back to normal, because this was not a good normal. So by the way, we need to consider our normal was crazy and not good. So hopefully we go back to something what is not normal. We go back to something which is logical and good for the sustainable future for all of us. And I have some hope that we don't do the crazy things like before again, because we now understood that some of these things might change also in our realization about what we expect from this. And I think that's my 2 cents.
Marc, if I may add to this, thank you for your remarks. I think what the crazy bad thing in the past was we were painfully slow. And I think we can be much faster. And this is, if I sum up all the remarks that I had from CEOs or CFOs is about speed. Wow, we can do this. We can be so much faster. And yes, let's keep that. I mean, also in terms of innovation, right?
Absolutely. I think, as you said before, it's all about the timing. And I think such a situation when something has a global effect, like we had in 2008 when we had to work at the economic crisis, also a lot of startups, a lot of new business models were exactly founded in that time, like Uber, like Airbnb, coming from 2008. But now we also see 2020, 2021, a lot of new business models has been set up, a lot of new startups are out there coming with totally crazy ideas and in such a light speed topic. And we stopped certain things where we had no sense, where we saw no value in it. And you really challenge what are you doing the whole day? And how we are acting, communicating, traveling, what's our main value as a company, as an organization, and how do we deal with our colleagues? Of course, and what we also can see, I would say in the last 9 months, let's say the first 9 months of the pandemic situation, when we all really were sitting 100% at home, everybody, and we are, again, 76,000 people, and around 40,000 were sitting at home and really working from home, and it was okay. But so after 9 months, you see people are saying, I would love to meet people physically and to exchange, and also when it comes to creativity, you can do a lot virtually. But in a certain moment, it also helps, like something like here today, having an exchange left and right, because at the moment now we are setting up a meeting for a coffee. That was happened per coincidence before, and now we have a crazy talk on something. So really we are a human being, and I think that is something what we really love to have. But I'm fully with you. Hopefully it's not coming back like it was before. So we really have to take the best out of the situation. I think a lot of business travels are not needed. A lot of things are virtually fantastic. But I think once you have to meet, even for first time, then meeting the person or in real life makes sense. But also when it comes then to business model, I think also with the speed of development, let's keep that, because that is the right speed and the right space to really define new things.
Mm. Yeah, and I also think that you, a couple of weeks ago, I met someone I knew digital before only, and I wanted to look down to him because for whatever reason I thought he's smaller than me, but he was much taller, and that was a complete different experience. So I couldn't agree more.
I had a funny situation last week, because now when we are sitting in Teams and everybody's then doing when you agree, then thumbs up. Now we met the first time last week in a real meeting, and everybody was agreeing, everybody was doing thumbs up. I said, okay, we can just, so it is already becoming a part of our individuality and our behavior. But again, it's all about what can we learn out of that.
Yeah, fully agree. There's one question from the audience. It's about scaling innovation seems key. What are main requirements? What do you see are the main requirements to successfully roll out new innovations across a corporate?
Hard one. because I think there's also not black and white. I think something what you also said, having the backing from the CEO and CFO is always important because you need their support. Because even when you're coming with a change and every innovation, the first step is something different than before. So you have to find the right story, the right motivation, the right approach to really bring it to the business units or to your organization, involve them as fast as possible, and having also in the process of development working council in that in here in Germany, also really inviting them and also the final customer who has to deal and who should be the buyer then of the solution in the process. That helps a lot because we also have done crazy cool technology approaches and setting up, and then we brought it to the market, and then nobody wants to have it because we missed the part asking the customer first what they are expecting, where they are willing to pay for.
Yeah, definitely right. I think so. First of all, I think it should start with the expectation management. Why do we want to make innovation? What are we trying to chase, to hunt, and to execute at the end? And what's the purpose beyond? To have the people backing this and all the. Did you have some kind of a spirit and a goal that you go there and try to collect all the data-driven approaches that you can start to really execute new things? I think starting always with a why. Why do we need this? And if the answer is our business is dying, then it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. You need to. So then it's mandatory. You need to start. And then I think it's very important also if you look into the different other questions popping up here on the screen, it is like, do we really need, is there something you can distinguish between innovation and simple product innovation? No, I think innovation is innovation. So it starts with a product, but it could also be in a workflow. So there is no limit. So I think it's the same thing. Innovation is always trying to not have the status quo, the same thing. Challenge this, make it better, make it different, and try to think out of the box. And this can bring a lot of positive things, but also this could go really mandatory wrong. But even in every failure, there's a chance.
And that is my keyword to ask you my last question, because we are coming to an end. Innovation is about trying things, and it's about being bold, being tough, and just doing things. And that means that from time to time we might fail. So we need to fail with pride, and that is a message we want to send out. And to underline that, I would like my guests, what is the biggest failure that you had in your career, or one that you want to talk about in a minute? Please, who wants to get started?
I can maybe start with a small thing that we have developed. So that was a reusable packaging system. So we developed it, let's say it was some years ago already. We put all technology that was available on the market into that box. So there was a lot of door opening sensoric, light sensoric, shock, vibrations, temperature, humidity. Everything was more or less in that box, and we really said, that's such a cool box. We won every single prize. We won the German Verpackungslogistik Award. Then we were transferred then to Sydney. We won also the packaging award then in Sydney for a whole globe. But no customer was really willing to use it because it was too much technology. No customer was really needing that. And we really missed the part asking the customer first what they are expecting.
Thanks.
Yeah, we did a corporate spin-out from Siemens. And then one day, my head of the supervisory board, a Siemens employee, asked me for an org chart. And I provided him with a circle. And I said, we do decisions as a team. And they went crazy. And they were right. I mean, it was stupid. But I didn't speak their language. And this is so weird, because that's actually my core competence, to speak the language. But I was so far away, and I was so crazy in this startup, yeah? I just didn't get it.
Marc?
There are probably many failures in things, but I think the most important thing is is that even if you make a mistake, it's a valid information to understand how it's not going to be. So what's wrong? So even if it's a mistake, so valid information in. So it's probably good to know what doesn't work. So if you start from there, probably then you can focus on what could work instead. So if you really think that if you're making a new project and it's a failure because of energy consumption, whatever, there's so many different things why a project can fail, or the diversity of the team is missing, or you are doing third step before the first step, 100 of reasons. I think the most important part is don't do the mistake again, and the second one, learn from it, and there's a valid point, also valid information in how to not do it, and then make it right. And so it's always like modifying. Don't stop, even if you make a mistake. Doesn't necessarily means to stop. Probably you just don't need to modify. where you are, or think again from another perspective, ask other people. So at the end, I think failure is a part of our daily life, and I think it's pretty good. So if you ask me, I'm very happy to have made so many different failures and mistakes in my life. That's good, because it brought me at the end there that I better see right now what probably is the good thing to bet on.
And by the way, even if you do things very right, you shouldn't stop making them better. That was our session. I would really like to ask you, I hope that we could convince everybody that elephants can dance, that corporates can do innovation. We need the people, we need to look at the customers. We should have our CEO behind us, and then we can really bring innovation to the market. Thanks for being here. Also, thanks to the organization. Viva, Navid, you rock, really a great event. I'm looking forward to next year. Thanks and bye-bye.